Welcome back to another video. I'm Akhil. These videos are documenting my journey towards finding the meaning, and our current mission is with Adaro. So if you have watched the previous videos, obviously I had a completely different background. Now I kind of removed all that stuff, and this is the new company, Adaro, and the brand new mission, which is expanding the scope and scale of productivity. If you don't know, a lot about me, I'd probably recommend going back and watching a few videos, but as a quick synopsis, I was a real estate agent, and now, for 2-3 years ago, I'm 20 years old. I'm about to turn 21 in maybe 4 months, or in 3-4 months, and I am currently working on building a company, which the mission is expanding the scope and scale of productivity. We're gonna get into a little bit more details about the exact mission and what that even means. What does expanding the scope and scale of productivity even actually mean at a fundamental basis? We're going to expand on that point, and we're going to go really in detail. But there's a ton of things to talk about. I'll go over quick things. First, we're going to talk about what's going on in the business. I actually took a bunch of notes, so I'm 100% ready to talk about exactly what's going on in the business. We're going to talk about transcending apeism. Oh, the other thing that's on here, we're going to talk about transcending apeism. So if you see that and you're like, what the hell does that mean? We're going to get into it in this video. We're also going to be talking about aliens. I know it's totally business alien. What? Okay, but there's actually a logical conclusion I came to that. And we're going to be talking about freedom and the nth degree of freedom and some other random philosophical tangents that I have been going on in the past almost 3 to 4 weeks since the last video. It's been about 3 weeks. So yeah, a lot to talk about. Let's get into the video. All right, so let's get into the first topic, and that's going to be what's going on in the business, Adaro. I did actually film the first 10 minutes of this video last night at 10 p.m., but then I realized everything was all jumbled up because it was 10 p.m. So I was I'm just going to redo the entire video right from the start. And this one's more succinct. I actually got my notes right here of what's actually going on, because there's so much shit that has happened that I really want to make sure that I convey everything, or at least the succinct, the condensed details of what happened. Because otherwise, I'm just gonna forget a major thing, and then I'm gonna bring it up in another video 3 weeks from now, and you're gonna be like, what? How is this? It's just not gonna make any sense. So I want to make sure, exactly. These are just this is the shit that I'm actually doing. I just printed it out. It's already shit I'm doing. This is the daily shit that I already did, and I'm just oh wait, I can just print that out and use that as just a guide of what I did over the last 2 weeks. Okay, anyway, so 3 weeks. Okay, so let's get back to the point, and that is what has happened since the last video. Okay, so the last video I obviously officially started. It was probably I think about 2-3 weeks into Adaro, and I was testing out different lead generation methods. I was really kind of just testing the waters of the business, basically. I think basically by the end of I'm gonna pull this shit up so I remember exactly where I was at. Yeah, so by the end, you're right here. This is old video filmed right there. So I was basically doing DMs. I was still kind of doing some real estate stuff, see showings, and stuff like that. But after that video was filmed, the next week or so, I really isolated DMs, started maximizing the DMs, started doing 200 DMs a day, and then 200 secondary DMs a day, which is the second message. And I really started cranking up the volume. And really refining the script and just, cranking up the volume. So I tested 3-4 different scripts, refined it to one kind of variation, and then 3 or 4 of that one kind of template variation. And then really started pushing that and reducing the real estate almost to 0, actually. And then after that, the next almost 2 weeks were just a blur of me increasing the DMs. I went from 100 DMs a day to 200 DMs a day consistently. And then eventually, a week and a half after that, I went to 300 DMs a day consistently. I also made instead of me handwriting every time a tally on my hand, on a piece of paper when I click a DM, I actually just put it on a mouse macro. Kind of hard to explain, but basically my mouse is actually a gaming mouse because I used to game before a lot. But that means there's a ton of extra buttons. So I just routed the extra buttons. I put an auto hotkey script. This only took 25-30 minutes with ChatGPT's help. And it probably saves me tons of time and makes the DM process so much more enjoyable. Because now, to count the DM, all I have to do is just click the button. right? See what I'm saying? I just click the button, it automatically counts for me. So I can literally just bam, bam, DM, click, bam, bam, DM, click, bam, bam, DM, click. And it just makes it so much faster than clicking a DM, noting it down. Clicking a DM, it's just like, I don't know. It's just, that part's annoying. But anyway, yeah. So I did all that DMs by September 26th, which is like, I think exactly 2 weeks. Like maybe a little bit less than 2 weeks after I filmed the last video. We got our first call with the spa. That spa was actually in Texas. Let me make sure I'm not forgetting anything in between there. Yeah, we did some refining on the offer in between there. There was a bunch of real estate bullshit, like this application. If you remember from my other video, there was this lease listing I had. Basically, what ended up happening with the lease listing is she rented it out to somebody without even telling me. And, you know, although that technically, according to the contract, I should still be getting paid, I'm not about to go fucking, like, do this shit with the landlord when I have more important things to worry about. Fuck the $2,000. I don't give a shit. I wasted all that time with that lease. Yes, I'm going to eat that cost as a real estate agent. I'm going to be a G about it. Fuck that shit. Let's focus on the actual mission. Okay. I could go after her and like for her $2,000, you still owe me a commission. But I was like, you know what I said? Thank you. I hope the tenant works out. Boom. Fuck that shit. See what I'm saying? I'm a G. So, yeah, like I said, now basically I've removed like the entirety of, there's no real estate stuff left. I've removed the emails, like my real estate compass email. I've removed it off my phone. Okay, so anybody who emails me is never getting a reply. Anybody who texts me, secondary stuff. If I get time one day, then I'll respond. But no, that's not a priority at all anymore. So let's get back to the point. Okay, so maximizing DMs, and then we got, like I said, our first call with the spa. Spa said they were interested. Another thing I did in between the DMs is I was like, okay, for this first spa, since I have no idea what the hell I'm doing, we're gonna make the price at a point where a spa, like if they even think about it, they have to be like, how is it even physically possible? Basically, we're at a losing. It's a subsidized cost for them, and that was $250 a month. I was like, okay. I have no idea what this is going to look like. I really want to just test and iterate and figure out the back end. So I just want to get a yes. So at a price that there's no way somebody would say no at, $250. So this first spa that I talked to is a spa in Texas. Spa in Texas. I went through all the spas in California, DMs wise. I went through, well, not every single spa, obviously, because there's no way for me to know, but I went through all the easy to find leads. And I don't know if I explained this last video, but basically I have Google Maps. I just look up the Google Map. I just have a Google Maps, and then I just go through city by city, looking up med spas, and then just reverse search the name into Google, like just copy paste the name into Google, click on their Instagram account, DM them. That's one DM. And I was trying, and I hit 300 DMs a day at the peak DM rate. And then I got within 2 days, yeah, actually 2 days, two to 3 days of me doing 300 DMs a day, I got my first spa who said, yes, I'm interested. I want to hop on a call. Yeah, like I said, this spa was in Texas. I moved throughout California, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, and I made my way to Texas. Texas, I think, so far has been the biggest spa market. Like, there's just the most number of spas compared to any other state. California, you would think, has the most, but it doesn't actually. Surprisingly enough, California is still second to Texas. I think Texas has just more lax business laws, so there's just more med spas in general. But yeah, anyway, Texas, got my first spa. He said, yeah, let's go. Let's have a call. This spa was like a bigger spa. They have like 200 leads a month. And actually, my price point at $250 was so low that he thought like we were not legit. And he was like, yeah, I mean, $250, I have no idea how the heck you guys are going to deliver, blah, 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 blah. And I learned a lot of valuable information on the call. So he was like really concerned about like scheduling rates and then show-up rates. So like actually like no-show rates. Like what are the scheduling rates? What are the no-show rates? I actually didn't have that on hand, so it kind of seemed like I fumbled the bag a bit, but because I didn't actually have those numbers on hand. So I was like, I don't have those numbers personally, but I can get those numbers for you if you give me a day. And he was kind of really concerned about like, have you done this before for other spas? And I was like, obviously I haven't, but I don't want to say that I haven't. So I was like, yeah, we're working with a couple spas, in like a pilot program. We don't have anything like, we can't give you like a full on, like a connection. Like I can't connect you with the spa owners just out of privacy for those spas. But if you'd like, some anonymized reports, I can do that. I sent him some anonymized reports, which are really just sample reports that I kind of just created out of nowhere. And I sent it to him. But he's like, okay, so basically for that lead, he was like, it's all great. It all sounds good, and I'm really interested. But I want to talk to another spa owner before I say yes, because we're a bigger spa. We want to make sure that your guys are actually able to handle the lead flow, and you guys are legit. So I was like, all right, fine. That's also that's honestly cool. I'll let you know. Give me like a few months until I get. We're kind of working on getting more clients and stuff like that. And give me a few months. I'll get back to you if when we get a spa that's willing to speak on our behalf about our service. So that lead's a good lead. Maybe 3 months from now or 6 months from now, once we get a few spas into the system, I'll reach out to him, and maybe we can get a deal or whatever. Anyway, so after that first call, literally that call happened that one day, and then that day I also did 300 DMs, and then the next day I did not do 300 DMs because I don't know, I was doing dumb shit. But anyway, so now, like literally 2 days after that, I had another lead because I've been DMing pretty good. I did 300 DMs the day after that. Like the day I did the call, I did 300 DMs. The day after, I did not. But the day after that, I did do 300 DMs again. And then I got a yes again. Another person who wanted to have a call. So I had the call with them. And this spa owner was actually significantly. Well, they're not as nearly as big as the other spa. But they have 2 locations basically. It's a single owner operator, and they're in actually the California area, not Texas. They're in the California, San Francisco area, and they were cool with us doing a free trial for 4 weeks first, and then $250 a month after that. So I was like, cool, that's amazing. Number one, and they wanted me to get on a marketing call with their marketing team. And man, when I tell you, I have never seen. Okay, well, I don't want to make this sound mean, but like the marketing call was just them with their CRM, like they're basically like their assistant with the CRM manager. Like okay, so they have like a CRM service, right? It's a CRM that they use basically for their not only their new leads but also their existing leads and their phone calls that come to the office and all that shit. They have a CRM, and that CRM provider, it basically was a phone call with the CRM provider because the med spa team was having trouble. And I kid you not, I went on the call, but basically the entire call was the med spa, like the assistant did not know how to put a JPEG basically into an email template. Like, it just makes it sound kind of mean, but it's just like the entire call was basically them like kind of figuring out JPEG templates for emails. So yeah, but anyway, after the call, it had nothing to do with me, but the owner just asked me to be on the call. I don't really know why, but anyway, after that, the owner was like, yeah, sure, and they signed the contract, and then they signed the contract and gave me the payment method. So that's what I needed to start the trial, because I'm not about to start a trial without a payment method or a contract signed. So I got the contract signed for $250 a month, first 4 weeks free, and I got a payment method too. So yeah, I mean, hey, got lucky right there. I mean, I'm not lucky. Volume negates luck. That was 3,500 DMs in order to get that. Yeah. So like this is just days of DMs. Like in order to get that first spot, we're talking about like, I mean, how many DMs is that? That's a lot of DMs. It's like days of DMs. Like it's just days of, this is all days of DMs. Days DMs. Anyway, so, but volume negates luck, 3,500 leads, got my first med spot, he said yes. So that's cool. And now the real hard part starts. So that was now about a week ago almost. Exactly a week ago, because today's Sunday, that med spa owner said to hop on a call last Sunday. So it's almost exactly a week now. And I'm going to go over, in this 1 week, I've learned so much that I've actually completely changed, not the business model, but the ideas, the thought process, what we're delivering, how we're delivering it, the scope and scale of the product, the service. Pretty much have changed like everything, including the pricing and the free trial stuff. And we're going to get into all of that. I have all that right here. I have all that right here. This is another whole, this is a list of, basically, this is just an entire list of everything that I need to fix about the business. And yeah, it's just like 2 pages of just like shit that I need to fix about the business. There's so many things that I need to optimize. But anyway, so let's stick to the order right now. So we're at the med spa that they just said yes. Okay, so let's actually get into it. So first spa. So let's just go through day by day what kind of happened, because it's pretty dense. Okay, first thing, day one. Okay, day one, she officially did send me that contract payment link, like I said, and I immediately got started on her system. Okay, and she started sending me login links, and I had obviously no clue what was going on, basically, because she kept sending me login links like Meta, this, that, this. And I was just kind of trying to figure everything out. So the first day was literally just me trying to figure everything out. I started with literally just started with trying to identify all the new places the leads are coming in. Make sure I know and I can manually, before I start automating anything, before I start isolating anything, before I start connecting anything, can I figure out where everything is coming from and just manually start following up with those leads? So that's literally day one to what I did. I just started just trying to manually understand where everything is, kind of just, figure it out for the spa. And basically, this particular spa was getting leads in 3 primary places. Website leads, like on their website. People like shooting a contact form on their website. That's actually where they get most of their leads, but most of those, it's like where they get like, I would say 95% of the, like 90% of the leads, but of those 90% of leads, I would say 95% of them are wrong information for whatever reason. Then the next one is like their marketing Botox. Like this comes from like Facebook ads and stuff. They have Botox leads, which it comes in through another CRM. Basically, somebody is doing the marketing for them on their behalf and they get emails for new leads. The next one after that is called like a cool sculpting, which is another thing. It's like Botox. Botox is like a a treatment, like a facial treatment. Cool sculpting is also like a similar. It's like a body treatment for med spas. But that's the next one that they're getting. But those are also getting by a third-party provider, and those are already followed up with, so I don't really need to monitor those. The next one was like Meta, IG, Meta and Facebook and Instagram comments and DMs. That's the next big major lead source. And that's pretty much it. There's also another thing on their website. It's called DearDoc. It's like a chat bot on their website. But I just consider that website leads. So we have basically 2 forms of website leads, 2 forms of marketing that is third-party marketing services. But one of them I don't really need to follow up with because they're already being followed up with. And then the last one is they're basically their social media platforms. And then they also get Yelp leads, but I'm not able to really connect the Yelp leads. So and they don't get enough for me to really like make it like a connection and then have to automate it. It doesn't make any sense for me to automate it. If they get 1 a week or 2 a week, it's like, okay, just send me a screenshot. We'll just manually put it into our CRM and then call it a day. But anyway, so it's basically, those are the 5 major sources. Really, it's 4 because one of them, like I said, I don't need to follow up with. But yeah, 5 major sources of leads are those. That took me like literally 3 days, like 2 to 3 days to figure out. But yeah, that first day is literally just kind of understanding the entire system of what's going on in their med spa. Because like I said, for me as a third party coming in, it looked like complete chaos. It's like, there's new leads, existing leads, there's customers, there's people being scheduled. She gave me this login information. She told me to download this app. I'm like, oh, what the hell is going on? So it took me a couple days, but slowly by slowly, the first number 1 priority for me is obviously identifying their lead flow, making sure that I can like track it manually, just put it into a spreadsheet and then follow up with them. So that's what I did basically. The first 2 days were basically just that manual follow-up and just really just manual work, right? But I did remember like the number 1 thing for me is that there's, I guess this is going to be kind of too deep into like the actual workings of what's going on. It's not that I don't want to say it, it's just like it won't make sense to 99% of people. But essentially there's a system called GHL. It's the CRM system that I'm using on the back end to automate follow-ups. I think I already probably lost everyone. But on this system, there's a thing called A2P, which is essentially a phone number verification system. Since 2023, there's this legalized requirement that everybody who sends automated text messages has to register with this A2P service. And basically, you can't send text messages from the CRM if you haven't verified that A2P. And that A2P verification takes, from my experience, 3 days. So luckily, I started at day 1 All right, sorry, I guess my audio completely died. But anyway, I hope you guys don't care. I'm filming on my phone now because fuck the camera. It's not working right. Anyway, listen. So, like I was saying, I was talking about A2P verification. I have like 10 minutes after that I guess the audio is cut out on, but whatever. We'll just go back to A2P verification. So yeah, anyway, A2P verification, basically, you need it. You basically need it. Otherwise, you can't send text messages. Officially, I got that 3 days later. So then, basically, day 3 through 5 is literally just me going through and automating every single new lead into the GHL system that I basically made on my side. So basically, we're taking all the new lead flow that's currently going to God knows where in theirs, and we're just routing it all to one centralized system so that I could automate the follow-ups and make sure that they're actually being followed up with properly, if that makes sense. Like they're not going to be they're not going to be missed or lost, if that makes sense. So, main thing now. After that, main thing that happened is this. So, The automations basically look like this. I went through, I used what's called Zapier, which is literally a free service until you get to like 100 zaps or whatever. And I also used, obviously, GHL automations. And this took like 3 days just to automate. And officially, as of yesterday, I am fully done automating all the new lead flow. So every single new lead is now never going to be missed. It has its own respective automation that includes Meta and Instagram comments, that includes all the website leads like I was saying, that includes all of that stuff, is now completely automated into a system. So some of the things I learned over this, I'm not sure, I kind of forgot where we cut off, but basically we didn't, now the way it's automated is so that a new lead comes in, okay? This new lead, the second it comes in, it's immediately goes into my system, and then it gets what's an automatic text and an automatic email, and then it sends me a notification to call them, if that makes sense. It sends me a notification to call them, then I'll call them, right? And then based on what happens on the call, so if they're a wrong number, I'll just set it to be a wrong number. It'll take care of the rest. I'll never be notified again until it becomes a dead lead. I'm not notified, but when it becomes a dead lead, then every single week I take the dead leads, obviously, and I send that to the owner. But right now, I put that new lead comes in, I call them. If it's a wrong number, like I said, dead lead. But if they're booking or they want to schedule a booking, boom, I'll just schedule them into a booking. I'll call them booked. They'll obviously be taken out of that workflow, and then the med spa will take care of it. If nothing happens and they're just not responding, then it'll follow up. It'll tell me to call them one more time the next day, as well as send another automatic text and email the next day, if that makes sense. And then I'll follow up the second time, and then if they still don't respond, then it'll just go through the automatic follow-up sequence. And I don't remember if I said this or not, but basically the new follow-up sequence is not 9 touches over 7 days, it's 8 touches over 5 days. And the reason for that is because it's very operationally complex to do 3 calls, and there is no specific benefit to the third call because 99% of people don't pick up or convert on the third call. Anyway, the first 2 calls are the only ones that are important, and it adds a crazy shit ton of operational complexity for me for basically no added benefits. Why would we do that? The goal of the company is obviously to expand the scope and scale of productivity, not waste time on needless nonsense like a third call. So we're sticking to just the 2 calls, and we're automating all of that. We already automated, me and ChatGPT automated all of that. So over the last like 3-4 days, officially it's done as of yesterday. All new lead flow is now automated. So that means that like most of the first couple of days, obviously the entire day is just me trying to figure out everything, trying to get these, the stuff working correctly, and then just following up with the leads. So that basically took the entire day. But now it's probably closer to about 2 hours of work per day for a new spa, for a spa, if that makes sense. So what that means at a base level. What does that mean at a base level? So what is a company at the end of the day? A company is simply, they're providing a product or service, right? And they are obviously asking for a price for that service more than what it costs them to do it. That is obviously the point of a company. You are making profit on the service in order to grow and continue helping and solving more problems. That is, you solve a problem for more than what it costs. You're charging more than what it costs to solve it in order to build a scalable enterprise so that you can solve more problems. That is the point of a company. That's why the world exists the way it is today. Anyway, what does that mean? Fundamentally, that means the calculation has to be man hours spent per spa per day, calculated to the cost of what we're procuring, if that makes sense. So procuring what we're getting from them, if that makes sense. So basically, the point is, right now, man hours at 2 hours a day, 28 days, because we bill, another funny thing, I don't know if I mentioned this before, we bill every 4 weeks, not every month, because you bill every 4 weeks, there's actually 52 weeks in a year, you actually get an extra month. 4 weeks sounds the same as a month, but if you bill every 4 weeks, you actually get an extra month in the year, so you're actually increasing profit margins. And on top of that, we add a 3% processing fee. And basically, Alex Ramosi said, nobody's ever said no to a processing fee, and we add it, 3%. Stripe's already charging us, we may as well pass it over to the consumer. So yeah, anyway, that's all great, fancy and nice, and congratulations, but the main point is this. So, aside from all those random shits, man hours cost, okay? Man hours cost at 20 hours a week, or whatever it is, it has to make sense, right? So like, if it's, let's just say 2 hours every single day for a week, that's like 15 hours a week, times 4 weeks, that's obviously a lot of hours. But if we can get that number of hours down, right, the cost of delivery also goes down. And that means we can justify, obviously, you can have an actual profit margin to scale. Ideally, the cost is close to if the cost is 1 hour per day at like $8 cost an hour, which means we're offshoring most of the follow-up calls, because I don't think there's going to be a major difference between offshore and onshore follow-up calling. Then if the cost is $8 per hour, obviously, and then there's 4 weeks, which means it's going to be 7 times 7. So obviously it's going to be 280. That'll make the cost vector somewhere. If it's $8, obviously it'll be somewhere. I mean, it'll be somewhere around like 200, 250 bucks, somewhere on there between $8 and $10. It'll be 200. It'll be like 250 to like, something like 280. But if the price is at $1,000 per month, that makes sense. We can make that. We can actually scale with that amount of profit, because you need to have like 4x, because it's not just the cost of delivery; it's also the cost of the systems, admin, billing, all this shit. There's so many costs when it comes into a business. You need to have at least 4x in order to even survive. Really, I mean, if you're not making 4x, then you're basically not making any money. Anyway, so you can't really scale anything. Right? The mission of the company is to expand the scope and scale of productivity. You can't expand the scope and scale of productivity if there's not a significant margin. Over time, the point is to get that number of hours, man hours down, without changing or hurting the productivity that we deliver. We want to make sure that no leads are getting missed, follow-up sequences, our leads are getting touched as soon as possible, but we also want to make sure the man hours on our side is going down as much as possible. If we can get the man hours at some point down to like 45 minutes per day, that's even better, because that just increases the margin of profit that we can make. And obviously at some point, if we can increase the prices, you also increase that. The more profit you have, the more you are able to actually scale and accomplish the mission of the company. Anyway, aside from that, so we kind of veered off a bit there, but back to the points. Those days, the next few days were literally just me, like I said, automating. The first couple days, me going through hell, just trying to figure out all of the shit that's going on in the back end. Like, okay, they have like leads coming in here, leads coming in there. It's like all hell, basically. It's complete hell. Next few days after that, just automating that hell to make sure it's actually easy and nice for me to follow. Right now, it's still about 2 to 2.5 hours a day, man hours on my side, in order to deliver it. We need to keep chipping away at that, right? Making that lower, and also raising the price, right? Obviously, $250, I'm actually losing money, right? Technically speaking, if you calculate 2.5 hours, man hours, and I mean, obviously you can already just make the calculation. 2.5 man hours times 28 days. Even if you calculate a $10 an hour thing, we're way over $250. But the point of this spa is not to make money. The point of this spa is to learn. The amount of things that I learned over this first one spa is literally, it's incomprehensibly high. So anyway, another thing I wanted to mention here is this. I have a lot of respect for Jeff Bezos, and here's why. So right now, business for me is like literally, obviously, business is about solving problems, because you have to keep solving one problem after another, until you can actually expand the scope and scale. But if you think about Jeff Bezos, right? He started Amazon. Jeff Bezos is the guy who started Amazon. Amazon is a company who, if you don't know Amazon, I don't know, you're probably living under a fucking rock. But Amazon is somebody who delivers basically any product or any package to you. You just order it online, delivers to you. If you somehow don't know what Amazon is, that's what it is. Anyway, Jeff Bezos, the guy who started Amazon, started in 1994. Okay, 1994. So I want you to think about this for a second, right? Jeff Bezos, when he started Amazon in 1994, he had to hand code his website. Okay, he had to have his own, because there's no like website builder. No, he has to literally hand code the website. Okay, he has to have his own server, in order to host the website on. Right now, you just go on to a website, an online website hoster. You can host it right there. No, that doesn't exist in 1994. His own server. That's just the website, bro. Okay, now consider this. It's 1994. Nobody believes in the internet at all. Nobody. Nobody believes in the internet at all. At all. Like, people think the internet's like some type of scam. So he used to convince investors that people are going to put their credit card information on a website in 1994. Convince investors that are like 65 years old. These investors probably don't even know what the fuck internet. They're probably like, huh? The fuck you say? They don't even understand what you're talking about. Okay, you have to convince investors that people are going to willingly put their credit card information onto a website, and you're going to be selling books that are widely available. There's bookstores in every major city, everywhere in the U.S., and you have to convince investors to give you money to sell books online. Okay, when bookstores are everywhere. Okay, and they have to put a payment method on file, and then you have to pay shipping costs. Like, what? Why would anyone do that? Like, you have to think about that from like he has to convince investors to do that. And then on top of that, he has now 1,000 SKUs that he has to deliver on. Okay, he has like 1,000 SKUs of books. There's like thousands of books, right? And so he has to have a system and process in place to organize those books, deliver, like to pack those books. Like the man hours cost per book cannot be high. If it's high, the person has to walk across here to get the book, and he has to take it over here. He has to pack it. He has to print out the label, tape the label, put it in, and then put it in the UPS thing. If it's too much cost per unit, you're never going to make money as a company. So he has to figure out the logistics of that. Okay, and then also every single SKU has to be entered online. That means somebody has to sit down, probably him. He literally sat down, went through all those books, hand entered it, each SKU online so that people could see. That is, that just to start the company. And then, that's not even getting started on payment processing. For me, what does payment processing look like? I go to Stripe, within 30 minutes, I set up an invoice, a thing, and boom, boom, boom. Within 30 minutes, I had my payment link sent out to the owner, and they put in their credit card information. In 1994, there is no third-party payment processors for an online company. Okay? He literally had to I don't even know what the hell he probably had to do to get online payment processing for his company. He probably had to get like some like batshit 10% crazy ass processing or something. Because I have no idea what he did. Like, what did he do? It's 1994. Okay, not you know about payment processing. Okay, now he has to convince people to actually give them their credit card information online. Okay? This is like the amount of problems that this has. Like the amount of problems that Jeff Bezos solved. Again, he has no chatbot, no AI, no Google, bro. Like what? My God, he had some crazy determination. That's he deserves all the billions of dollars. He deserves more than that. Like what the hell? Solving all those problems day after day after day after day when nobody believes in you, and still believing that the internet is the future when nobody even believes in the internet. Nobody knows what the fuck the internet is. Oh my God, it's crazy. It's really crazy, bro. It's crazy. Like compared to that, business for me is like basically on easy mode because for me. Like think about all of these problems that I have, like these automation problems, this problem, that problem. I talk to a chatbot. It gives me, tons of potential solutions. It puts it in, I give my problem. Okay, I need to automate this. How are we going to automate this? It gives me like 3 or 4 solutions. Okay, we try each one. Okay, maybe this one didn't work. This one didn't work. But this one actually half works. Let's iterate on that, make it work fully. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, within like half a day, boom, that's just automated. Done. Okay, bang. Next problem. How do we solve this? Boom, 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 boom. A chatbot. Okay, a chatbot is mission aligned too. It's like literally a tool that has all the huge data set of understanding of human nature, of human knowledge that we have. And it synthesizes that information into a simple, easy to read format. Helps me solve the problem. So I'm literally moving like 1,000 times faster because of this chatbot. But Jeff Bezos was able to do this with nothing. No chatbot guiding him. No nothing. Just problem after problem, hitting his head on it, and then breaking down the wall and solving the problem. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. They got another respect. Same with Elon too. I mean, all these guys, like all these businesses that were started, like Facebook too. I mean, if you think about Facebook is such a complicated business in terms of how you actually monetize that business. Like, there's a lot of shit that goes on to it. And if you actually look at all these big businesses, it's like, okay, like people always say, oh, they just got lucky. No, dude, this is like the amount of problems that they had to solve in this business. It's like, it's quite literally insane. It's like people, obviously, there was tons of competition for Amazon when he started. It's not like he was the first person to think, oh, we could sell stuff online. No, tons of people thought that. But he was the only one who actually solved all those problems and executed and actually did it right. He basically forced Amazon to be a successful company because literally the amount of problems that he had to probably have to solve, I mean, I can't even imagine. It's crazy. But anyway, I'm getting back to the point. So now you kind of caught up on where we're at. I just officially automated all of the new lead follow-up for the spa, and now there's a ton of, like I said, now I'm just really kind of I'm trying to isolate what are the major leverage pullers that I can pull that will reduce the amount of time that I'm spending on a daily basis. And the number one thing right there, the next thing I need to do is actually just deleting shit that I don't know what yet. I have to talk with ChatGPT and just kind of go over everything I'm doing, and just deleting shit that doesn't even like help or affect productivity or help the spa in any way. That's the main number one thing I need to go and do right now, today or tomorrow. And that's what I'm going to do. Delete the other random shit, then automate more things. There's still more things to automate on the back end. It's not just lead flow. It's also, I have a full list, obviously, like I said, of shit that I need to fix. But there's like each one of these things, it'll probably save me 10 minutes here, 5, 10 minutes here, 5, 10 minutes here. And when you add it all up, it's like, we're talking about like a potential hour of savings, which once I start to outsource this work is a big deal because 1 hour of savings is literally like between, because it's every single day compounding, right? So, yeah. Okay, I feel like the lighting is better like this, but yeah. Okay, we gotta do what we gotta do, It's my camera's fucked up. Okay, anyway, so Now, next thing. So I think I got you guys caught up on what's been going on. Technically, there's actually not just two spas. There was a third spa that also, in between the first one and the one that accepted it, there was another spa that was interested, but I guess they just didn't understand our service. They wanted a marketing service, not a lead follow-up service. So yeah, there's not really much of a point. Okay, so now let's talk about all the problems that I need to fix with the business. So like I said, there's just a ton of problems. Everything is just a problem, basically. But the main thing is I can see a light forward. Okay, well, let's take a really big step back, okay? So taking a really big step back, again, like I said, our mission is to expand the scope and scale of productivity. Okay, so as a business, that means basically that we have to make a very, very simple system, right? Very simple, as possible for us to deliver consistently. That does increase their productivity, but something that is not hyper customized to one spa. Because at the end of the day, if it's hyper customized to one spa, then it's impossible to do it for multiple spas, which inherently is not the mission. The mission is not to make the mission is not to make one spa as productive as possible. It's to increase the scope and scale of productivity, which means you have to fundamentally at a base level make a simple product or service that does increase productivity. That's not super hyper customizable. It's very simple, and it's like a fucking McDonald's burger. It's consistent, very simple, same every time. If McDonald's started making lasagna or some shit, like a different thing at each location, it fundamentally would be impossible to scale it, impossible to do anything. It's not the mission of the company. So in this sense, that means very simply at the base level, it simply means this. Okay, we're gonna make a very consistent service, the follow-up service. Okay, we're gonna do what is productive for the consumer and for the company as best as possible in order to expand the scope and scale, if that makes sense. But like I said, at the end of the day, it may not work out for this spa. Maybe I realize that spas aren't willing to pay $750 or $1,000 for a service like this. If that's the case, that is fine. After about like 10, 15 spas, 6 months down the road, I realized, okay, nobody's, okay. Let's take it even further step back, I guess, is this. So right now, the mission for this one spa is to get through these 4 weeks, right? Automate as much as possible on the back end. For me, it was a perfect trial run. I learned so much, but automate as much as possible on the back end. And if this spa pays, that means the service at a base level is valuable enough for somebody to pay. Which means it's worth, right now, $250 is obviously like nothing, but that is the first major milestone. That's the first major if. Will somebody pay for this service? If the answer is yes, that's great. Okay, that's the first major milestone is complete. Now, will somebody pay for the service at a higher price, at $750 to $1,000 a month? If the answer is yes to that, then officially we have an we have a scalable business. It's a product market fit, and now the execution risk is just on me to actually execute and scale the system profitably. But if, for example, I spend the next 3 to 4, 5 to 6 months, or whatever, 3 to 6 months, keep reaching out to people, I get people, but nobody's accepting it at the higher price and paying for consistently for 2 to 3 months, that means fundamentally there is a value discrepancy and I need to change something. Mainly the offer, what I'm servicing. At the end of the day, it doesn't mean I'm going to give up anyway. I'm never going to give up. This is like very mission aligned to what I want to do. So I'm going to keep doing this for the next 10, 15 years or until I die and figuring it out. But the main thing is, because at the end of the day, at some point I know if I keep trying iterations, whether it be for med spas or this or that, if I keep trying iterations, right, I can change the scope of what we're serving. Maybe instead of follow-ups, I change it a little bit, or I alter the offer, or instead of 8 touches, I do this, or there's many ways to alter this that potentially, if this specific exact model is not working, then that's fine. We'll find something that does. But what I'm saying is, goal first of all is to get a product market fit. Right now, we're in the stage of I'm just automating the back end so that I can even get multiple people at the same time. But once that is complete, that is obviously just basically operations, just figuring out actually how to deliver. But once we can systemize delivery, then the next question is, okay, is this even something people want? If the answer is yes there, is this something people want at a price that is profitable for the company to do? Because at the end of the day, I can't have 100 people at $250. It's not physically possible because of the man hours calculation, like I explained. If the product or service is only worth $250 to somebody, then it's physically unscalable because it's not profitable. Right? It has to be worth $700 to $1,000 at a base minimum level, which really comes down onto me in explaining the value of the service. Because at the end of the day, on a theoretical level, if you simply save 2 or 3 clients because of our lead flow system, that more than pays for the service, not including the offset of workload from their workers, not including the fact that now, because we're actually giving them daily or weekly metrics, now they're able to make better decisions. Okay, hey, you know what? We're getting 25 leads from websites that aren't converting, and we're getting 10 leads from websites, 10 leads from Meta, 10 leads from IG ads, Instagram ads, and Meta ads, 10 from each. But only the Meta ads are converting at like 10 or 20%, but the Instagram leads are converting at like 5%. Okay, maybe we should shift more, like as in like just from the metrics alone, because a lot of these spas, they're just like this single owner operator is like, they're an operator with like a few assistants, and they're kind of just running crazy. The owner doesn't know what's going on really. They're just using this service, that service, and whatever gets leads then and there, that's good. If it's not getting leads, it's not good. It's just like boom, boom, boom. It's just like, it's basically chaos. I'm coming in and organizing it. But like I said, main two questions. First of all, will this spa at $250 continue the payment plan? Like, will they continue paying after the free trial? That is major step one. If they are not willing to pay at $250, then there's a major problem with the business, because if they're not seeing the value at $250, it's unlikely that another business will see the value at $700 or $1,000, right? So that's just number one. Will this person keep paying? Then number two is, will somebody pay at, like I said, a higher price? And then once those two major ifs are answered, then from there it's just execution risk on me in systemization, consistently getting that, again, man hours calculation down as much as possible, while still keeping the service as high quality as possible, and me increasing the price as much as possible to where we can actually get a system that is scalable, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's just the main mission or a business prerogative. Now we can go into the actual detailed shittiness that I'm dealing with on a daily basis. So let's talk about all the problems that I currently have in the business. This is going to be insightful for you guys to see, like, okay, wow, there's actually a lot of dumb shit that goes on here. Okay, so, this is just a lot of these are quick notes. It might be a good idea to keep one or two spas at a discounted rate as a test spa. Any new efficiency or feature that we are going to try out, we could try it on these test spas without worrying, since it's a low-paying spa. This is just an idea I'm just throwing out there. I don't know. I'm just writing all this shit down because I don't want to forget. Okay. We should go over everything that needs to be deleted from our system. Deletion is better than automation or systemization. This is step one. This is actually, like I said, what I need to do. I need to go through and delete everything that is redundant. You need to add Stripe link to internal messages. I need to go do that. Basically, the Stripe link is like, for this spa, there's a consultation deposit to make sure people show up. It's done through a Stripe link. Anytime somebody wants to schedule it, I have to go through 15 emails to find the Stripe link. If every time I get a notification to call, it also just has the Stripe link added. I can't believe I'm explaining this, but whatever, yeah. That's basically the system. Both workflows and new one need to have number not calling, but still text them path. So basically, I have a wrong number path that completely takes them away from calls and text. I need a path in the automation that it takes them just away from calls, but it automatically still sends texts. I need to build that through. You need to add last name into internal messages so that we can identify, or a link to the direct contact, because otherwise I'm searching through contacts to call. That's another thing I need to fix. We need to automate voicemail drop, because I don't want to repeat the voicemail 100 times, or something that is automated so that we don't have to say the voicemail every time. That is a big one, honestly. When I'm running through like 15 calls, the voicemail is like 30 seconds of each call. The call itself is only like 20 seconds. The voicemail drop is like 30 to 40 seconds. When you start adding that up per lead basis, it becomes like, it takes if the voicemail drop was automated, it would take half the time, or even less than half the time, or like a third of the time compared to without voicemail. So that's huge when you're talking about, when you're talking about like multiple leads and shit. That's like the difference between like a follow-up session taking 30 minutes and a follow-up session taking 10 minutes. So big difference there. We need to fix that. We need to have an SOP for which calls are wrong numbers and which calls are just somebody you still follow up with again. This is because eventually I'm not going to be doing the follow-ups myself. I have to offload the task to a VA or something like that. Otherwise, fundamentally, you're never going to be able to do the mission. The mission is to expand the scope and scale of productivity, not for me to sit down and follow up with leads all day. Botox new lead internal notification needs to be script and it needs to be updated. Yeah, it's just like in the notification it sends me, I need to fix the script. Oh wait, do we even need voicemails? Yeah, that's me questioning the value add of a voicemail. Does it actually expand productivity for a spa? I don't know. I haven't decided yet, which is why I put that down. We double dial to increase close rates. is that even worth it? Operationally, it does add up, and does a spa owner even give a shit? So right now I'm double dialing leads, which means I call them once, if they don't pick up, I call them again. Is that worth it? Does that add value? I've discussed that and figured that out. Either we're going to delete double dialing, or we're going to continue to keep it, but that's going to be like a major branding or advertising thing. We're going to advertise the double dialing. I have to figure that out. Or maybe it's going to be like we don't double dial for a certain spa, or we do double dial like at a higher price. I don't know. Let's figure that out. Average time to lead ratio. This is a major metric that we can raise or lower prices on. So maybe we can have like different tiers, like the highest tiers you get double dials and an average lead time of less than 5 minutes. Like the lead comes in to call, like how quickly do they get called? Within 5 minutes, maybe the highest tier. Within 10 minutes, maybe a secondary tier. Within 30 minutes, maybe I don't know. I'm just throwing out shit. I'm just putting the shit on the paper. So if reply internal node 24 hours, if no change in tag, push down into follow-ups. I don't know what the hell that is. Okay. Oh yeah, not important now, but would be nice. Different voice messages for Botox leads, website leads, etc. Maybe sculpting leads, Zapier just for tracking. Different email templates and SMS, that I actually did. Meta comments automation, I already did that actually. Our current priorities in order is deletion, automating everything, figure out how to automate the reporting side of things, because right now I'm manually going in and trying to tell the spa, okay, we followed with this many leads today, this many people booked, this many people did this many people did that. I'm kind of manually going through and doing that, which is very, very, very annoying. So we have to find a way to make that is like the next thing. Right now, the most amount of time is in follow-ups, right? Me calling people. And the primary, in follow-ups, the most amount of time is me leaving voicemails. So that is the major thing that needs to be fixed. But after that, the next thing is, after follow-ups, the next thing is literally the report at the end of the day. And that report at the end of the day takes me about 20, 30 minutes, because I'm just going through every single thing that we're doing. And okay, how many leads did I follow up with? How many leads, blah, 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 blah. And it's a fucking pain in the ass. So there has to be a way for me to automate that. How many people I followed up with, how many people answered. There has to be some way for me to make that faster. So instead of 30 minutes, it only takes 5 or 10 minutes. That's the goal there. The mission alignment. Make sure that, okay, so basically I also noticed that, what is the mission, okay? The mission of the company is expanding the scope and scale of productivity. I know that I said that like 100 times, but that means all decisions have to be taken in that context, which means I was thinking to myself, I was going on a tangent. Well, should I be focusing on the variable of lead, like time to lead ratio as a variable? How much should I be focusing on that? And I've been thinking about it, and expanding the scope and scale of productivity does not mean overemphasizing a variable that does not inherently increase productivity, if that makes sense. Time to lead ratio, that time to lead, the average time to lead, it does matter, like as long as you're like within 5 to 10 minutes. But past that, overemphasizing and making it like something where we need to be there, but we need to be there within 5 seconds or 30 seconds or a minute. Overemphasizing to that point, if you take that time that you're overemphasizing on that one variable and you split it up to other things that matter more, like, okay, what matters more to increase productivity? Overemphasizing on one variable that doesn't really affect bottom line, or focusing on actually helping the mission, which is expanding scope and scale, like getting another client or getting another spot to agree to do this thing. Like I have to make sure to understand, okay, what variables actually affect the mission, okay, and what variables are we going to look for and optimize for? Because at the end of the day, I can optimize for any variable, but does it actually help the mission, right? The mission is the most important thing. So that's kind of what I've been thinking about there. And then, the point of the business, I kind of went over this already. The point of the business is not individual unscalable productivity, but systemized productivity at scale. That is the mission of the company. So. All right. I need to also change my thing. But anyway, one thing I also learned that I am going to permanently make an effect for the next few spas is this. Right now, the next spa, a minimum price that I'm going to take is $750. But what I'll have as a downsell if they're not saying yes to $750 is I'll have a downsell that, okay, we'll do it for $500, but there won't be any calls. So just be the automated text messaging and the automated emails, but there will not be any calls. There's no calls at all. And that's actually even more profitable for us because that takes away 95% of that takes away like 80% of the daily tasks. So yeah, we could do that as a downsell. But anyway, it's really just calculating man hours, and then but that's going to be a primary downsell. I don't want to make that the main service. The main service is lead follow, but we'll see how that goes. I mean, there's so many variables to play around with. But yeah, and I do want to have a setup fee for the next one. There was no, I removed the setup fee for this spot. So yeah, I just waived it. I was just like, okay, well, I really just want to get a spot because like I said, I've learned a ton between getting the spot and now. But that's pretty much everything I'm going through right now in Adaro. Okay. Now let's talk about a little bit. Let's get into the actual philosophical. This video is going to be crazy long, by the way. I think I had 15 minutes before, 15 minutes before, 15 minutes before. Now we're talking about already, it's like 45 minutes. I'm somewhere around like 40 to 45 minutes, I think, right now. So, and there's a lot more to talk about. So this video is going to be like an hour and a half, probably, maybe 2 hours even. But yeah. So, okay. So first things first, what are we going to be, what is the next thing? So we're going to go a little bit into future talk. Okay. I was thinking like deeply, very, very deeply. I was having a deep philosophical conversation with ChatGPT, like I enjoy doing after all my work is done for the day, obviously. And basically, I was thinking about this. So, how in the world? Okay, what is? Oh shit! This is actually. See, I wish I had my camera that was working because this precisely. You see this? Transcend apeism. You can't see it because the camera's not working. But. Oh man, there's no mic too, so I bet you the audio sounded like fucked up when I went over there. But anyway, listen, that thing says transcend apeism. We're about to get into that topic now. So, what is apeism? I actually coined that term myself. Apeism is, I define it as the fact that it's the apist limitations that are this vessel, the human body, gives us. It's apeism. All the evolutionary designed dumb shit that you have, your desire to eat, sleep, reproduce, all this dumb shit. That is apeism in a nutshell. And also all the limitations that come along with it, right? The limitations being that you have to sleep every single day. You only have a certain processing bit rate. All the limitations. So the point of transcending apeism is to get to the next level, which is keeping all of the amazing things about being a human and getting rid of all the shitty things, which is, like I said, eating, sleeping, a very, very delicate body. Like legit, if you get cut right here, you could die. You could bleed out and die. That's it. You are very weak and a very fragile entity. Like a human is very, very fragile. So you're just destroying all those limitations. And then also, like I said, humans have natural desires, like eating, sleeping, and also reproducing. These things take you away from maybe what you really want to do. You see what I'm saying? Like what is the main thing you want to do in your life? Like, let's just say, this is kind of a weird example, but let's just say your goal in life was to travel the world. Well, when you're traveling, you have to deal with the fact that, you get tired, you get jet lag, you have to eat and sleep. And then when you get to another country, you have to kind of get accustomed to that country. The weather's different, the organisms are different. And basically, traveling actually becomes a kind of shitty experience because even though you really like to travel and explore the world, you still have to deal with all the human limitations there. And you can't just, boom, get into a country, start exploring, doing all the stuff that you like doing, because there's like tons of human limitations. Like you can't walk 50 miles in a single day. But let's just assume you really loved walking around a new city, you'd have a physical limitation. But imagine you could, if that's what you really wanted to do it to such a degree that you could just do it all day. Okay, I travel to a new city every other week, but the reason is because I can explore the entire country overnight, and I never have to take breaks. I can just keep going and going and going and going, exploring this, exploring that, boom, 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 walking. I can walk 150 miles a day because I'm not in a human vessel. I'm in a transcended state of a vessel. See what I'm saying? I know I'm getting all a sci-fi here, but this is all going to tie back into Adaro, by the way. This is the funny thing. This is all going to tie back into Adaro. Just wait. You're going to be like, oh my God, Akhil, you're a G. You tried this all back into one nice little bow. I know. Watch this. Okay, watch. Okay. So, like I said, the transcend apeism is overcoming the human limitations. Okay. At scale. You can't overcome the human limitations for just one person. You have to do this for everybody. That's the mission of the company. Expand the scope and scale of productivity. Okay. So, now that we got to that, okay, what does this have to do with Adaro, and what the hell am I even saying? So, what is the biggest detractor of productivity? It is our human limitations. Guess what? You can only be so productive because you have to eat, sleep, you have desires and all that shit, like I just explained. So, the end goal of Adaro, not end goal actually, because who knows what's going to happen after that, but a big major milestone for Adaro would be, the biggest thing would be not just lead follow-up, but as like a future state would be to literally solve transcending of humanity. Does that make sense? Because if you solve transcending of humanity, you literally pull the biggest lever of leverage. See what I'm saying? If you can find a way to rewrite the human mind, okay, not rewrite, but I fucked it up. But give a person complete freedom over their own self. Like okay, let's just say for me, as an example for me, this is what I'm talking about. This is the ideal state of atoms. Okay, this is the ideal pattern of atoms. I'm trying to describe it. This is the ideal thing. This is the perfect state. Okay, the perfect service that exists. Me as a person, okay, I get to analyze myself from a third person view. Take the desires that I want and don't want. Delete the stuff that I don't want. Keep the stuff that I do want. Put myself in a body or form, an entity, like a machine, or basically, I don't know, like a machine human or something. I don't fucking know. But anyway, put myself into an entity that has no limitations with those desires that I want and deleting all the shit that I don't want. And now operating that in that way. Does that make sense? I think I kind of fucked it up, but you understand. You see the logical train, okay? Delete the shit that you don't want. Keep the shit you do want. Maximum productivity. Does that make sense? That is like the end state. That is the best service that Adaro could give. Now I'm thinking like 500 million steps in advance, obviously, but and this probably will. The odds of success on this are probably like less than 1% or some shit. You can probably make your best guess, but it ties in pretty nicely. See what I'm saying? It all ties in. Like the end goal of, not end, I keep saying end, but it's not end because that is just the beginning. But that would just be the beginning if we accomplish that goal. But anyway, a future form of Adaro, the future goal of Adaro is actually to solve the transcending of apeism. Does that make sense? That's the goal. It's literally like, you might be like, okay, Keelish, you're jumping the gun a bit. You haven't even figured out lead follow-up, yet you want to destroy the limitations of the human mind. Where are you? But, like I said, that's just like, okay. I think the video cut out. Anyway, so yeah, like I said, odds of success, probably less than 1%. But that is the end state. I keep saying end state. That's not the end state, it's the beginning state. But that is the ideal goal of Adaro, in a sense. Like the ideal goal is to, at some point, obviously not, there's a lot of steps before that. We got to lead follow up and then, see what I'm saying? But the end state of productivity is transcending apeism. Literally my goal, in a nutshell, find the meaning. Boom, bro. Boom, you got it. That's it. Damn. You see, I bet you're thinking, wow, my brain is broken. That is such a cool thing. It's pretty cool. I know. It probably won't happen. I mean, it will happen because I'm in charge, but you get the idea. Anyway, so that's the end. I keep saying end. That is the goal. Okay? That is the goal. And yeah, we'll get there. We'll work on it. We got 100 years until I die. So, I mean, unless I die in an accident or some shit. But until then, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to keep pushing forward until we get that transcend apeism, bro. Transcend apeism, expand the scope and scale of productivity. Let's go. So, next thing. Like I said, super long video, totally random. Aliens. Exact. Aliens. We're going to talk about aliens, bro. It's going to be great. Okay, listen. So, the Fermi paradox is where are the aliens? Because, assuming that it only took us 200,000 years to gain intelligence and then create AI within the 200,000 years humans have basically been alive. That means on universal time scales, even though if you factor for localized variables of time, that an alien civilization should be so advanced that we should be seeing them right now everywhere. Well, where are the aliens? Well, fundamentally at a base level, actually, the Fermi paradox is actually illogical. And here's why. You're about to be like, Akhil, if you're 21, what? Listen to me. This is like genius level IQ, the description of what's going on logically, with full logic. Okay, a logical entity that does transcend apeism. Okay, that accomplishes my goal. Okay, a logical entity that transcends being an ape. actually, we'll take it even a step back, okay? Humans are kind of pretty self-centered. We essentially think that we're like Jesus, but think about it. Humans are literally just an ape, but slightly advanced. We just got like a little bit of intelligence, and we're like over here, ooh, where are the aliens? No, like think about it. Like we're just a slightly advanced organic life form. Like that is like on the continuum of things. It's like they're single cell organisms, which is like the original, and we're definitely way more advanced than that. But on the scale like compared to like a universal explaining AI or something, we're like pretty far away. You know, see what I'm saying? Like compared to the entity that could, in theory, find the meaning, like without any limitations, the human body is like just really just advancement of an ape. You know, very evolutionarily designed to do certain things, and most people follow that evolutionary script. You know, like eat, sleep, reproduce, stuff like that. And follow the mean, follow the average, and just kind of live your life. But in a general sense, we're just an advanced form of a primate, basically. Advanced mammals. That's kind of it. But being said that, where are the aliens? Well, at a base level, why would an alien be interested in an advanced ape? So like, why would an alien even give a shit? Because if you account for an alien, that means they have transcended the ape-like limitations of like eating, sleeping, and all that shit, and all the random desires that come from being an ape. They have transcended that, and they are now a greater form. And the greater form of intelligence will only want to do one thing, and that is understand why we exist in the first place. Because that's the true like, at the end of the day, every other desire, like traveling or getting money or anything, every other desire can just be like, it's like most of those are just evolutionary programmed desires, right? Like as in like, it just, they don't really end in anything. Like they're just endless pursuits that don't really get you anything. But understanding why we exist is actually like a true desire. It's any logical entity, they'll realize like every other desire is just basically pointless. But understanding why we exist is the only thing that we really like. You don't know what's going to happen next. Like if you understand why we exist, you really don't know what that even means. But obviously, if you get a ton of money, you already know what that means. You're just gonna get a ton of money, and you're just gonna buy shit, basically. Or if you get a ton of women, you already know what that means. You're just gonna get a ton of women. It's not like there's no question about what's gonna happen. It's just okay. You get this, and then this happens. It's just like the atoms are manipulated, but you have no idea what's gonna happen when you gain the understanding. See what I'm saying? So any logical entity that has transcended apeism is primarily going to be focused on understanding the nature of the universe and why we exist. Okay, if we take that as the logical endpoint of that type of civilization or society, right? That means they are focused on putting as much energy as possible and as much resources. Once you reach that state, it's not like you have infinite resources. You still are limited to the amount of like resources that are in and around you and all that shit and how you can do that. So you're not really thinking about, okay, look at those primates over there that are slightly advanced. You're really thinking about, okay, how can we use most of our resources to expand the scope and scale of our understanding? See what I'm saying? You bickering with advanced primates is not going to solve that problem. You see what I'm saying? Anyway, that gets me to the next point, which is if there is such an advanced alien civilization, which there most definitely is, because obviously, if we exist and the universe is like, there's like a gajillion of solar systems and a gajillion galaxies with a gajillion solar systems in them, obviously alien civilizations that are advanced exist. They just simply don't give a shit. Like, do you go sit down and look at the ant farm and you're like, look at these ant farms. We need to explain to the ants that they need to do this and do this in order to become like us. No, why the fuck would you ever do that? They're fucking ants. Let them do what they want. If they, transcend their anthood and they start understanding shit and they start, transcending their antness and become an intelligent life form that is like equivalent to us, then we can talk and, we can, work together to understand the universe. But until then, they're like sitting down, in planet Z2F in the GGX ward of the GGX universe in the galaxy. And who gives a shit? They're one of 1,000 other life form species. Like, to an alien civilization is probably like, okay, we've identified like 800,000, potential intelligent life sources. 200,000 of them are probably going to die in the next 200,000 years based on external factors. The sun is expanding too fast. This is happening. There's a giant asteroid on collision course. Cool. The 200,000 of them are unlikely to, become a very intelligent life form meaning like they're not going to get to our level because of, internal factors or this factor or that factor. And then these last 200,000, or those 200,000 might be, they are potentially going to transcend, but the amount of time it's going to take because they're in they're in a part of the galaxy that there's not that many resources. So it's going to take them time to do this, It's probably, they're unlikely to succeed. Their chance of success is less than 10%. Then there's probably another set of, like intelligent life forms. And they're like, okay, these 10 or 20%, let's monitor them closely. Once they, transcend their biological logical bullshit and they become a very intelligent life form, we can upload our data set to them, and then we can all kind of work together to understand the nature of the universe. That kind of makes sense from a logical perspective. But that requires that, any life form, becomes super advanced and intelligent to the point where they can just send in their data set. Because right now, if you think about it, like humans are really not that adaptive. Like we are adaptive compared to like stupid shit, like dumb animals and shit. But compared to like if I took an iPhone and I gave it to like a human living in the year like 2000. If I took an iPhone and I gave it to a human living in the year like 1000 BC, okay, they would literally look at it and they'd be like, "Oh, cool, a shiny black rock," and then chuck it. Like as in like you'd have to sit down and like explain to them for like a decade for them to really understand all of the prerequisite information for them to get what an iPhone is. See what I'm saying? But an advanced life form would simply just like ChatGPT upload a new data set. Oh, cool, we know now. Thanks, and then they'd start working on the shit. You see what I'm saying? It wouldn't need to be like a big complicated shit. Like where you sit down. Like imagine if an alien civilization tried to interact with apes. It would just it wouldn't make any sense. They would have like crazy, obviously advanced shit, and it just it wouldn't make sense. Like why the fuck would that? It's just like you're talking to a bunch of advanced apes. Like you're not talking to an intelligent enough life form to where you can just upload the information and they can, you guys can just work together. Because advanced apes have inherently like ape-like thinking, you know what I'm saying? Like apes are like, oh, well, they're gonna kill us or some shit. And then like apes have like their weird ape shit going on. So there's not even a point. Once they transcend all that bullshit and they become like an entity that is easy to communicate with and they share the same objective, then it's like, okay, boom, we just, send in the data set, just give it to them and we'll just work together. We learned all this, they learned this, we'll work together and they work on their shit from their side of the universe, we work on our shit, we'll share our information and boom, we'll understand. It'll be that simple. But basically, Fermi paradox, illogical, because any logical alien civilization would realize that there's so many intelligent potential life sources. Most of them are not going to be intelligent, transcending their apehood or whatever, their biological life form, because of external factors, internal factors, and plethora of different things. Like the dinosaurs, for example, it took them 200 million years, and they still never became intelligent. So there's thousands of factors going on here, and they probably just monitor from afar. Oh, okay, that civilization exists. Okay, if it disappears, we'll take note of that, and make sure that doesn't happen to our civilization. And they'll basically just look at it from afar, and they'll move on with their life. They're not going to sit down and go to each one of 200,000. Oh, this is an intelligent life form. Let's try to make sure something good's going to happen. No, they're just they don't give a shit. It's do you give a fuck about the ants? No, fuck the ants. You know what I'm saying? We have shit to do. So who the fuck is going to sit down? Well, the ant farm in Brazil, in the middle of the rainforest, actually, there's 3 ant farms, and they're all competing with each other. And actually, nobody gives a fuck, okay? Fuck the ants. We have shit to do, okay? And yeah, that's what I'm saying. The same thing the aliens are going to think. If the ants come in and they want to work together with us, that's cool. We'll work together with them. We'll send them our data set. Let's work on it together. Fuck the ants if they don't want that. And yeah, exactly. See what I'm saying? It's very simple, very effective. A logical entity would not sit down and nitpick. Oh, here, look at that. There's a little ape society over there. They're not gonna give a shit. Okay, they're focused on other shit. That's the truth. That is the truth. Anyway, yeah, God is also a pretty self-centered belief if you think about it. I mean, I don't like hating on religion, but it's a pretty self-centered belief if you think about it. I don't remember if I explained this in my last video, but anyway, yeah, God is a pretty self-centered belief, and yeah, if you think about it in that context, it's we are humans, and we think the universe kind of revolves around us. And, come on, man, we are advanced apes. Okay, I really don't want to talk about this topic, but let's talk about it. Okay, so, I was considering this topic. It's a kind of an interesting topic. The reason I don't want to talk about it is because it's going to make me look like a fucking retard. But it is power consolidation over time. That is the topic. Power consolidation over time. Okay, what the fuck am I saying? Okay, here's what I mean. Okay, power consolidation over time. Power tends to consolidate. And the reason I'm even talking about this is because I was looking at the American experiment, which is really what it was. The U.S. Constitution, the founding fathers, they kind of ran an experiment with a new type of constitution based on freedom, blah, 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 blah. And at this point, at the current state of America, right, it is most definitely not what the founding fathers intended it to be. And I'll elaborate, but at a base level, what did the founding fathers want? The founding fathers wanted individual freedom for you to do whatever you wanted to do, right? Like that was the base thing, you could go to a state and the state would have its own respective laws, almost like its own country, and each city in that state would also have its own respective laws, almost like its own little unified town type thing. And going from one state to another is completely they'll have completely different laws, and it's all that. It's like complete and total freedom, so that way you can choose which state you want to live in, and each one has its completely different laws, and it's like living in its own different country with its own society. But that was what the founding fathers intended for, or well, at least most of them. I know a couple of the founding fathers did not want that. I think Alexander Hamilton or some shit. He wanted it to be more centralized. But anyway, most of the founding fathers wanted it to be kind of localized things without a centralized governmental body that is that powerful. They wanted the centralized governmental body, like the federal government, to be as low in power as possible compared to the state government, so that the state government would have more power, and so that you could have maximum freedom. And that was kind of the experiment of freedom, okay? And why am I even saying this? So, well, if we look at the American experiment, the truth is, it failed. And it failed pretty much, the first 30, 40 years were decent. But after that, power tends to, like I said, consolidate. And you kind of had it consolidating in two major, basically the Civil War was power consolidation of primarily the major states into the Union and obviously the Confederacy, which again is technically never what the founding fathers intended. They never wanted power to be consolidated in that way. The whole goal of the Constitution was really kind of just to have a bunch of independent states that have their own independent laws. And really, obviously slavery is just one aspect at the time of that, but it kind of manifested into, the major, well, really it kind of happened before the Civil War, but like I said, basically power consolidation from the northern states and then the southern states. It really, instead of becoming individual isolated states, they kind of turned into one giant union and one giant confederacy. And we can get into history. I'm not fucking completely, I don't have a fucking PhD on what happened. So 95% of what I say is probably going to be generically correct, but not exactly, word for word what happened. But essentially, the way they write the history books is the Civil War was based on, slavery and some moral, high ground bullshit. But the truth is, Abraham Lincoln couldn't give two fucks about slaves in Virginia or some shit. The truth of the matter is Abraham Lincoln and the people in Washington, D.C. didn't give two shits about slaves. The point that they cared about was power consolidation. They wanted to essentially unify the entire United States under, one major, federal government, and basically get rid of the power that states have to individually choose their own respective laws. That was the whole point of the Civil War. It wasn't really about slaves. It just it manifested itself into slavery because that was the major difference between the two sides. But at the end of the day, the point of the Union, the point that it was really just enforcing, it's not like Abraham Lincoln was a bad person or something, but the point is that the unification of America actually got rid of what the founding fathers intended, which was individual state freedom. Obviously, objectively, slavery is not a good thing. But the point that the founding fathers intended was that each individual state would come to a conclusion of what their laws would be, right? Whether slavery or nothing would, or whether slavery or whatever would be allowed or not allowed. When Abraham Lincoln basically won the Civil War, he essentially got rid of that right completely. You see what I'm saying? Everything was under a federal. Now it's under a federal thing. Now nobody's allowed to have slavery, but that fundamentally goes against what the founding fathers intended. I'm not advocating for slavery, obviously. I'm just trying to explain that the point of the American experiment, essentially, what it shows is that no matter how good of intentions you have at the start, power tends to consolidate over time. And why does this matter? Well, it's kind of interesting to see that freedom itself as a basic point tends to get removed over time until there's a reset of the system. So in a general sense, basically, the founding fathers never intended America to be the way that it is currently, obviously, because they never intended for, think about it. They started they started the Revolutionary War based on literally 3 to 5% taxes on multiple different items like tea and stuff like that. So, for us to be getting federally taxed at 20 to 30%, depending on your income bracket, is it's insane, for what they originally intended. But anyway, and there's also we have the largest standing army when America was originally founded upon never having a standing army. So yeah, but at the end of the day, it makes sense because in order for America to become a great global power, it needed to unify. You can't have a bunch of individual states with their own laws and their own, bullshit. You need to have a unification. That is the only way to expand the scope and scale. Because again, you can't have individually hyper customized, like basically on a small scale. I see that you can't individually hyper customize for a spa and expect to be able to replicate that at scale. In the same way, you can't individually hyper customize a state and expect to replicate that at a scale of 50 states. It's not physically possible, and it's not possible to run a country that way. So forcing functions and incentives, if you want to grow, you have to systematize, which is essentially what the Civil War was. It was a systematic removal of individual state freedoms, right? I'm not, again, advocating for slavery or some shit. It has nothing to do with slavery. It's just like the removal. Eventually, to be honest, if you take the logical endpoint of slavery, slavery itself as a whole is a fundamentally inefficient system, because eventually it would have been removed, because the individual leverage that a slave has, because they're being forced to do labor all day, every day, they're not going to be very incentivized to, create systems or get better at their tasks or even do their task very well. They're kind of just, they're forced to do it, right? So why the hell would they even do it? Like, they're going to do what, as much as they have to do to not get punished, but they're not going to do any more. But at a base level, the greatest talent in the world is the exact opposite of that. They're going to do as much as they possibly can because they want to build and create great systems, and they're going to get rewarded heavily for that. So at a base level, slavery itself was never going to work logically in the long term anyway. It was kind of more of like just a short term type of thing anyway. So either way, even if, let's just say, the Confederacy won, eventually I think slavery would have ended to be honest, because just simply it's a non-functional system at scale compared to other systems. So that's just kind of destroying that argument. But anyway, so yeah, I guess the point of that was that forcing functions and incentives allow power to consolidate over time and individual freedom to be removed for the sake of unification and systemization. So yeah, I was just thinking about that. That's why I talked about it. Okay, now the next one. This is something I should have talked about last video, but I don't think I had the time to, so we're gonna talk about it now. The My Ape is Special framework. Okay, so I thought this was hilarious. It's that apes think, because they're sitting on localized understanding frameworks, that oh, I love this person, my ape is special. I guess this kind of goes into the individualism thing that I was talking about before. But at a base level, there is no special ape. So the whole "I love you" argument, love is not even love fundamentally doesn't exist at a logical level, because fundamentally nobody is special. We're just systems of actions and decisions. So if you replicate the decisions and actions, then you replicate the entire person, other than superficial facial features and speaking habits and stuff like that. But that's all basically irrelevant because it has no effect. So the My Ape is Special framework is completely just bogus evolutionary programming. Same with like the male like male programming is fundamentally wired to accept distraction in the form of females, and then like a female programming is to not like purposely, but to essentially create drama and distract. So fundamentally, at a base level, like the entire ape reproductive system is literally wired to suck up as much time, like distract you from pursuits that are focused on understanding. If that makes sense. Like the entire system of reproduction is fundamentally wired to suck up time, kind of in a way, because that is what results in the best. If you care about your wife or whatever, then obviously you're going to care about your kids by extension, and that results in better survivability of your children, offspring. So evolutionarily, that's what is going on there. And basically, the meta point of that is the only option is really starving it. There's no way to really satisfy it, so you have to starve out the desire. Okay, and that finally gets me to my last and final topic, which is, why am I even saying all of this? Why do I bother with all these videos? Well, I talked about it before, but I want to document exactly what I'm saying and thinking through. And the reason is because although my chance of success is less than 1%, in the chance that I do succeed, it'll be pretty cool. Like, imagine if Jeff Bezos had vlogs, every single week about what exactly he was going through and doing and thinking through. And then, and then he built Amazon. You get to see, the entire progression. It's, like right now, all you see from Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk are kind of like PR, interviews, and they don't really ever talk about all the detailed struggles of what they were going through during the time they were going through it. Because one, they don't really remember that much because they're already kind of past, and two, nobody ever asks about it because they're too focused on asking about what's going on now. So they never really have time to sit down like this and then go through everything. It's like like you have to do that in the moment. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's kind of obviously. like I said, even if I do fail, it's not a big deal because like at least it'll be cool to have known that I kind of documented my entire process and thinking process, and it's here on video, so it's kind of cool. And it's I mean, so far it's been pretty fun. Like I said, doing this, I compared to real estate, because fundamentally real estate was like a truncated outcome distribution path. Like I explained, there was no matter how much I focused on solving problems in real estate, the fundamental major problem was that trust takes too long. Like trust takes time. The business model itself is built upon trust, and trust is one thing. Time is based on time. So fundamentally, at a base level, in order to solve real estate, you have to have lots of time. That's what I realized. But Adaro is not like that. Basically, solving a lead servicing platform, it does not require high amounts of trust, like selling somebody's house, or high amounts of hyper customization, like selling somebody's house. So I guess the problem set is there's a lot of problems, but it's like solvable in a way that is more aligned with my mission. Actually, far more aligned. Essentially, Adaro is just my mission crystallized into a company. But yeah, basically. So yeah, that's pretty much what it is. I'm a pretty lucky person. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty grateful because I mean, all I do all day is just I solve random problems. I live in a first world country. I laugh at my own jokes incessantly. I get to talk to a chatbot all day. Like once I'm done with my work about philosophy and random shit. And yeah, this is pretty much my life. So I mean, what can I say? I'm living a dream right here. I'm like legit. It's like the dream right here. So yeah, it's pretty sick. Anyway, that's pretty much we talked about everything. I don't know how long the video is. It's probably like insanely long. But we talked about everything. We talked about the entirety of Adaro and what's been going on over the last 2-3 weeks. Transcending apeism, Abraham Lincoln, all the problems, my ape was special being a terrible framework, and why do I say all this? We talked about all those things. So, right now for the next few weeks, I'm really just going to be focusing on, like I said, first deletion of all of the dumb shit through that I'm doing in the business, so I can systematize the back end to make it, again, the man hours needs to go down. Man hours go down. If we can shrink the man hours, increase the price point, we have a possibility of business. But, that again, like I said, the two main questions right there are going to be, one, is this person going to keep paying and see the value? Two, will somebody see the value at $999 per month or $750 per month? So somewhere around there, will people see the value? And if those two answers are yes, then it's just execution risk on me. I just have to execute. I have to figure it out. I have to solve tons of problems. But if the answer is no to either of those problems, then I have to iterate on the offer itself, which means I have to spend a lot more time, kind of iterating on, okay, what are we doing? How can I change the offer so that it is valuable for them? What can I do to the business to systematize it, maybe make it cheaper? Maybe I can change the offer structure, or maybe I can change the automations. Maybe I only do, text in email instead of calling, and that'll reduce my workload by 99%. And then maybe I can reduce the price and it's only $500 a month or $250 a month or something like that. And that reduces the operational cost by like 90%. So I can still be profitable there. There's many options, but I just have to kind of, yeah, basically, if those two questions are yes, then it's just execution risk on me being able to systematize that, and then actually being able to go from 1 spot to 2 spots to 5 spots to 20 spots, and then from there actually beyond, because it's not just about getting 15 or 20 spots. Like I said, the mission of the company is scope and scale. So it's not about just 1 or 2 spots; it's about scale. So yeah, and theoretically, lead follow-up is not just limited to spas. If you systematize this correctly, lead follow-up is applicable to like most small businesses. So yeah, TAM is pretty much infinite. Another thing I want to talk about is competition. In fact, the beauty of productivity solutions is that the competition is literally amazing. I wish there was a competitor. I wish there was a major lead follow-up system that was doing the same thing as I am, because right now I'm kind of operating in the dark. I don't know if this is even going to be a workable system. At least if I had a competitor that was doing this at scale, I'd be like, okay, well, hey, they're doing it. I think I can do it too. But, I don't have that. So yeah, I mean, in a sense, productivity, you can always make a company more productive. There's 1,000 problems that small businesses have. So in a general sense, if they're competitors, that's actually amazing, because that just helps my mission even more. That just increases the amount of productivity. So I really wish there was a like a lead follow-up competitor, but I don't see one. Maybe they are there, and I just don't know because I can't see their marketing only to businesses, and I'm not able to find that. But I didn't see any of those. There are productivity solutions, obviously, in different ways, like CRMs, and then like offshore VAs and stuff like that. But there's not exactly what I'm doing. But even if a competitor does appear. There's so much problems that a small business has. So like there's theoretically like a theoretically infinite number of businesses that could be created here, because like lead follow-up is just one tiny aspect of small business problems. Like they also have like 1,000 other problems, like I was explaining. They have marketing problems, they have like systemization problems, they have existing clients. That's the next biggest one, I would say. Like existing clients is like, that's what this spa owner, she kept telling me. She's like, I wish somebody would also follow up by existing clients. Obviously, like I said no, we don't do that because obviously for me that's physically impossible to hyper customize to new lead follow up, existing call out. Like it's like I have to make a simple system and then expand that to multiple spas. Then we can decide on, oh, we want to also do lead follow up for existing clients or something like that. But yeah, there's so many potential problems that spas are facing, and at the end of the day, right now, if there's competition, that'd be amazing. That actually supports the goal. So I'm like, competition is the last thing I'm worried about. But that's kind of the entire video. I know it was fucking crazy long, and I need to now get back to work. I've been I gotta do shit. I gotta do a lot of shit. I gotta solve all these problems one by one, and eventually we're gonna have something to do. Even if this doesn't work, eventually on a long enough time horizon, I'm sure product market fit will eventually happen, and we'll be able to systematize that and scale it forward to as many spas as possible, or maybe not even spas at that point. Who knows? Like, it really can, like I said, apply to so many different businesses. But anyway, yeah, that's the video. We went over everything. Peace out to the meeting, and looking forward to the next video. Sorry, it's on a fucking phone. My camera's, I don't know. Hopefully, I don't know. Maybe next time it'll be on a phone too, because I don't know what's going on with my camera. The audio is all fucked up, and I don't feel like buying another camera. So maybe I'll just do it on a phone for moving forward if this looks okay. So bye.